Hey everybody, it's me, Zach. This is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, and today I just want to say hi to all my 1,000 pound besties because we're back here again today to talk about the 1,000 pound besties. Do you get that? I'm always calling y'all my besties, so collectively, at least some of y'all, if I gathered y'all, you'd at least have to be 1,000 pounds together. I'm probably way more than 1,000 pounds. I don't know. I thought it was clever, but now I'm like, Zach, that's really lame. Not me trying to call y'all my 1,000 pound besties. But y'all, we are back for another week of recapping and reviewing the new episode of 1,000 Pound Best Friends from TLC, starring Megan, Tina, Ashley, and Vanessa. I'm really excited. Well, I was really excited because I'm on the rush of just covering the season premiere of the 1,000 Pound Sisters. If you didn't see that, I posted it yesterday. Go check it out. But I was really excited because I was like, wow, I'm just really fully living in this 1,000 Pound cinematic universe, and I'm loving it. It's great. I love this content. And I don't know. I guess I just need to preface a couple things. One, really didn't enjoy this week's episode. I thought it was just so boring for the majority of it. I was struggling to find even clips that I thought were funny or interesting to include in this recap and review. You know, usually we get all kinds of sexual innuendos and pissing and shitting and farting jokes and things like that, and it didn't happen. There was no drama, really. The only drama was at the very beginning of the episode. Well, that's not true. There was a little bit of drama, but nothing that was oh my gosh, this is just so entertaining to watch. I don't know. It was just really a struggle. But then the preface on my end comes from also, I got garbage sleep last night. I did not sleep well last night at all, and I think that's maybe part of it. It's just I don't know, maybe I'm just too tired to find things as funny or as interesting as I normally do. So you'll have to let me know. I know some of you just literally watch to listen to me talk about anything, but if you do watch the 1,000 Pound Best Friends, could you let me know if you agree or not about the general entertainment you got from this particular episode? Because it just wasn't there for me. And because of that, this might be a little bit of a speed run today because I don't have a ton of clips and stuff to include. I'm literally looking at my notes now, and I just I don't know. It actually kind of looks like I have just about as much as I normally do, but I feel we're gonna get through it quickly. So if you're looking for a long video on the Zacharymike channel today, it might not be there. So let's just go ahead and get started. If you recall, last week's cliffhanger, which was very interesting, entertaining, felt like it gave us a lot to talk about, was Megan walking out of Daddy Proctor's office because she was upset with the way he treated her. And this episode starts off with Megan and Tina in the parking garage in the car, kind of talking about how things went. Megan's still very clearly upset, but Tina ultimately does talk her into going back and giving it another try with Daddy Proctor and seeing where things can go. And a lot of people, well, I won't say a lot of people, but there were a good handful of people who actually were on Megan's side in the comments of my last video, saying if Dr. Proctor talked to me that way, I would probably respond in a similar way of shutting down. And I think it's fair to say that maybe he could have handled the little smirk thing better. I think in general that was the only major clip I showed of him talking to Megan in my video, but I feel overall what they showed of his conversation with Megan in that episode, I felt he was not out of line in the way that he was talking to Megan. However, I do want to include for those people that felt like Dr. Proctor was out of line, that he does own some of that in this episode and say that he could have handled things differently.
Maybe my approach with her was not what was going to be most effective with her.
And to that extent, I think I appreciate that. I appreciate that he can acknowledge that there is maybe a different way of handling conversations with Megan that will be more productive to her overall health journey. And so I appreciate that, and I can agree with that. And to that extent, I can also agree with the people in my comments who said, hey, I didn't love the way that Dr. Proctor handled that, because clearly he has reflected and feels similarly. And I also just think in general, Megan is a more sensitive person, and overall I feel like she's a nice person, and I feel like it needs to be said that I don't, despite like TLC trying to kind of like make her this villain figure, at least in the first 2 episodes, that's not who I believe Megan to be. I do think that she is a genuinely sweet person, and she's battling some of her own like inner demons, inner saboteur situation types of deals, and that's leading her to kind of like respond in the way that she's been responding. And in fact, Megan does thank Dr. Proctor for taking time to listen to her, even though she walked out and things like that.
Thank you for never giving up on me and listening to how I felt.
So I think Megan really means well, and I just want to emphasize that because despite the villain edit, I don't think she is a villain. Dr. Proctor takes this time to remind Megan again of her accomplishments, that she has lost 200 pounds since surgery, that she also was oxygen dependent whenever she first saw him and no longer depends on oxygen. And so there are a lot of things to celebrate, that she's been successful and things like that, and she's not the failure that she thinks she is. So Megan does eventually weigh in. She was previously 303 pounds whenever she last saw Dr. Proctor, and this time she weighed in at 316.2 pounds. So she did gain weight, which they note is the first time she's ever gained weight since she started seeing Dr. Proctor. So it sounds like they are ready to reset things, the two of them, Daddy Proctor and Megan, and move forward, and I hope the best for Megan. Her goal is to be below 300 pounds the next time she sees him in a month. And then Tina weighed in as well. She was 296 pounds the last time she saw Dr. Proctor, and this time she's 306.5 pounds. And Daddy Proctor gives her a goal of losing 10 pounds by the next time she comes in to see him, and I kind of always forget every time he gives a weight loss goal about how low of a bar he sets for the girlies. Granted, she's not as heavy as some of the people on My 600 Pound Life, but I'm always thinking about how like Dr. Now on My 600 Pound Life is like, I need you to lose 50 pounds in 2 months, but obviously those people probably have a little bit more weight to lose than Tina does. And that's that. They leave and they both have a mission to do well in the next month. So probably the most interesting part of this episode was Vanessa and Jacob meeting with Jackie, who comes over on one of her lunch breaks to visit Vanessa's home. And if you don't remember Jackie...
Maybe if you weren't such a bitch, I wouldn't have to say that. Jackie, I'm kidding. Jackie.
She is Vanessa's sister, who Vanessa and Jacob lived with at the beginning of the first season of this show and eventually moved out because Jackie was toxic, was trying to enable her, didn't understand why Vanessa wanted to lose weight, didn't want Vanessa to lose weight, things like that. It was a very toxic relationship, at least from what we saw on the television show. So Jacob and Vanessa are trying to clean up the patio furniture in her backyard.
All the years and years of freaking bird poop and mold and grime. I mean,
they're real dirty, yeah.
I know, that's why we're fixing to scrub them. I don't want to sit on that.
I might can help you wipe up some stuff, but I gotta
Well,
go
it
back.
ain't nasty. I just want to get it kind of to where we can sit on it without getting bugs in our booty.
And honestly, girl, at this point, just throw it out. I don't care if Jackie doesn't have a place to sit. That's probably what she deserves anyways. Like, throw that shit out. That looks so gross. So Jackie, overall, during this scene that she's in of the episode, is just, I don't know, something feels off about her. But to be fair, something felt off about her in the first season too, so I don't think that's anything new. She just seems off in some kind of way, like under the influence of something or another. It's also weird because in her little confessional moments, at one point she talks about how she feels like she doesn't understand why Vanessa had to move out to get healthy. And also moments later, she talks about how Vanessa living with her was bad for Vanessa because she did everything for Vanessa.
I don't like that Vanessa feels like she had to move away from me to get healthy. Living together was unhealthy because I did everything for her.
So I don't know, things with Jackie just never have added up for me on this show, and they still don't. They don't at all. So then Vanessa goes inside, and Jackie and Jacob sit down and have a little lunch together. And by a little lunch together, I mean Jackie shares her McDonald's with Jacob. And Vanessa, I think maybe rightfully so, gets upset with Jackie for a number of reasons. Like, I think there are two issues here. One, how Jackie is enabling Jacob's behaviors, but two, how Jackie is bringing in food into a place where Vanessa is clearly trying to, like, overcome addictions to certain types of foods and, like, her bad relationship with certain types of foods, such as fast food.
What the heck?
What?
Why does he got that? Why is he drinking a milkshake?
It's just a milkshake, Vanessa.
Jackie, why are you bringing that around? Bringing fat foods into this house is like bringing a bottle of liquor to an AA meeting. Okay, that's just something you don't do.
I don't like whenever Mom and Jackie fight because it's just, annoying and useless, especially if I'm in the middle of it.
You offered him a milkshake and a goddamn fry.
Well, milkshakes are good.
Milkshakes are
And when you
extremely
put a fry
good.
in it, it's even better.
When it comes to the problem specifically with Vanessa and, like, bringing that kind of food into Vanessa's home, I 100% understand where Vanessa's coming from. I think it must be so irritating to have a sister who continues to bring temptations like that around. But when it comes to the conversation about Jacob, and this is, like, the toughest part of this episode in terms of, like, my thoughts and feelings about it, is that, like, Vanessa trying to, like, monitor and control Jacob's diet after all of these years. I think he's like 19, okay? And after all of these years, now she wants to, like, impose her thoughts about nutrition and health and things like that on him, I think are difficult. And he's clearly uncomfortable by his mom and his aunt arguing about him in front of him and putting him in the middle of whatever their issue and situations are. But Vanessa's acted like she hasn't been this child's mother for 19 years, right? And so a lot of his decisions and food behaviors and things like that are a result of how she raised him. I do appreciate that Vanessa wants to set up some boundaries in terms of, like, what is allowed in her home. I think that's fine, especially if Jacob's gonna continue living there as, like, a 19-year-old. Like, yeah, you should follow certain boundaries and expectations set by your mom. And also, if Jackie wants to come over and be present and be a part of their lives, like, she should respect what Vanessa wants in her home. But I just think, as, like, somebody personally who grew up and learned about all of the food and dieting and things like that from parents who were dieting and reevaluating their relationships with food, it's tough because I remember as a kid, everything I learned about what nutrition was and things like that mostly came from my parents. And so if all of a sudden when I was 19, 20, whatever, and my mom was like, you need to eat like this, you need to eat like that, I'd be like, what the fuck? The only reason I eat the way I do is because you raised me. You were the one cooking meals for me. You were the one buying food for me. Like, how was I supposed to know anything different? And now you want me to change that? Luckily, my parents never did that. Any decision I've made about my health or food or things like that has always been on my own. But I'm just saying, like, that must be what it feels like to be in Jacob's shoes. And we'll talk way more about this because in this episode, Vanessa full-on takes Jacob to the doctor, and I have, like, a lot of feelings about that situation. But first, we gotta go check out old Tina and the gang at the hotel. And we see this scene where Tina's kids are pillow fighting, and Megan and John's her fiance, by the way, Megan and John are, like, participating in the pillow fighting. And Tina is just overwhelmed by having to be everybody's fucking mom.
Sometimes I feel like I'm everybody's mom. I have my 4 kids, and then there's the other 2 kids, Megan and John.
Seriously? No. Oh my God. I don't know what I did, but I mean, lay down. Stop.
And it's very clear that Megan is not helping the situation just by this clip alone.
Oh my God, it stinks. Oh. I did not know. I would have helped. I didn't know. I was too busy being beat up with the pillows.
But I will say, interestingly enough, Tina, I think after last week's episode, posted on Instagram a whole post about how, like, this is Megan, like, this is a video of her waking up and getting the kids breakfast one day when I wasn't able to get them ready for school, and this is for all the people that think Megan's like a freeloader and taking advantage of me, and she really does help me out a lot. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm like, how much of this is just, like, for the show? How much of this was just, like, them being in a hotel where there was limited space, you know, situations like that? I'm curious. I'm curious because I'm sure Megan actually is very helpful a lot of the time. And parts of this feel like included to, one, give Tina a storyline on the show, but two, to like continue this like sort of Megan being the villain this season edit. I will say I do feel for Tina based on what they showed in this episode of her and what she had to deal with, because it seems real annoying, but also I'm not a parent for many reasons. Some of the clips from that episode in particular, I'm sure her kids are lovely, like I just could not do all of that. So then the girlies get together at Vanessa'S house, and I thought that there was going to be some fun activity associated with this, but this scene, easily the most boring thing that has ever happened on this show. They talk about how they're going to get stupid.
Hey, you want to rub booty too? I do. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is when our girls get together. We have fun. We get stupid.
But nothing stupid happens. There's no silliness. Nothing ensues. They just all do a check-in to basically debrief each other on all of the other individual scenes we've already seen them show at some point in this episode or this series. Like, for instance, Tina opens up about how she's overwhelmed by all of the children in the hotel and things like that. And then Vanessa shares the story about Jackie and Jacob and the McDonald's milkshake situation type of deal. And Megan shares her story about seeing Dr. Proctor. So it's just like, we're literally rehashing the first, like, half of this episode. For what purpose? I mean, I get that it makes sense that, like, they all have to learn about these things to, like, advance the story, right? Like, they all need to be, we need to see them being aware that these conversations and things happened, because otherwise, like, we'd probably get to it and I'd be like, how did Vanessa know about Megan's doctor's appointment? But I was just like, this is such a waste of my time. There's got to be a better way to do this. And I think it just maybe speaks to maybe one of the challenges of this show and why it's maybe not as successful as the 1,000 Pound Sisters. And I think that problem is that it's just trying to focus on too much. Like, for people who are not necessarily like living together or living near each other, I mean, outside of Megan and Tina, like for people who realistically are living their own lives separately and just happen to be tied together by this like loose friendship. It's a lot to focus on all of that, and then you add in other people into this storyline, right? Like a good chunk of this episode focused on Jacob, who's not one of the 1,000 Pound friends. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just feels like they're trying to do too much, and it's hard to like really feel like you're getting to get invested in any one storyline of the friends. But anyways, this scene wraps up with Ashley and Vanessa both weighing in on the Hello It's Ready scale. Ashley was 375 the last time they all weighed in together, and this time she's 369.6 pounds, so she lost about 5 pounds. And Vanessa was 301 pounds last time, and she's now down to 281.2 pounds. So she had about a 20-pound weight loss as well. So I'm glad to see that Vanessa's clearly doing very well and Ashley's at least making some progress. So the next chunk of this episode is the trip that Vanessa takes to take Jacob to the doctor. So we first see a little scene of them on the car ride there together. And Vanessa's going on this long spiel about how Jacob needs to lose weight, needs to take things seriously, how he's already pre-diabetic from the last time that he went to the doctor, and he needs to really take things seriously. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Jacob eats her up a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, you waited 44 years, and the only reason you did it was because your doctor told you had to. You're pressuring me and telling me I gotta change my foods now or I'm gonna die in a few years. It's not, that big. And if it is that big, that's fine. I'll deal with it on my own ways when I'm ready to deal with it.
Like, I feel like that really gets to what I was saying a little bit earlier, which is just that, like, he has lived his whole life as your child. He has seen the way that you've approached weight loss, eating, nutrition, etc. for his whole life. It took you 44 years to decide to do something about it, and because of that, he feels like he can also wait and do something about it whenever he wants. So to grow up seeing that you do something some type of way and then to be lecturing your child, I'm sure to him feels very like hypocritical and frustrating because he saw how you lived for so long. And the other problem is it's clear that he doesn't really want to do anything about this.
I want to do it on my own, and I want to do it on my own time. Why can't you understand that?
Do it on my time, baby. I need you to start losing weight now. I need you to get your life together and in order now.
And honestly, that's very reminiscent of how Vanessa first approached weight loss in the Too Large episode on Discovery Plus. She was very opposed to it because she loved her life as a fat person. She felt like there was nothing wrong with it. She just wasn't in a place that she wanted to do anything about it. And I think, that's her choice to make, just like it's Jacob's choice to make now. And let me be clear, it's not that I don't understand where Vanessa's coming from. I very much do understand. And in fact, whenever this came up in the first episode this season, there were a lot of people that were like, Vanessa should care. Vanessa should do this. Vanessa should do that. Vanessa's right to be concerned. And I'm not saying that there aren't reasons to be concerned. I mean, literally in this episode, you end up finding out that Jacob is diabetic. So, like, obviously there's some health concerns and things that need to be addressed. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know that this is the right way to do it. And I also, unfortunately, can't say what the right way to do it is. I'm not a parent. I've not been in their shoes. I don't know what the right way to do it is. But I'm saying if I was the child, okay, from my personal experience, if I sat and watched my parents have a shitty diet and struggle with their weight all their life, to have them come back and lecture me just because they suddenly were successful with something would really irritate me. And it would probably turn me off from wanting to do anything. And just like Vanessa had to eventually come to the conclusion on her own to do it for herself, Jacob also has to come to the conclusion to do it on his own for himself. It's clear that other people and the pressures that other people put on him are not things that motivate him. So they get to the doctor's appointment, and first of all, I have to say, I'm very curious why we're not going to see Daddy Proctor for this. Because also last season, I'm pretty sure Jacob did go with Vanessa to an appointment to see Dr. Proctor. So it's like, why not just use the guy that's already connected to this show? I don't understand why we're introducing these new characters. And by characters, I mean just like a new doctor. I don't think the woman who was his doctor is like a character by any means. I'm sure she's just doing her job. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, does it make sense why we wouldn't just utilize the resources that TLC already has with Dr. Proctor? Because they also, it's not like they live super far away. Like, they can very easily, from my remembrance, go see Dr. Proctor without having to travel a long way. So he had already had blood work and everything done prior to this appointment, so this appointment was just to really get the results of it. Before the doctor comes in, Vanessa's like, listen, I was 24 when I had you, I weighed 440 pounds then, and bestie, you're 5 years away from being 24, and also, like, you already weigh more than 440 pounds. So she was like, you need to get it together. Again, I don't know how motivating this is to Jacob. In fact, I don't think it's motivating at all, because Jacob full on says, like, I don't want to be here. I don't really care about this.
I don't really want to be here. I'd rather be at home, sitting on the couch watching TV or playing my games.
And again, that's the problem. He doesn't want to do this for himself. So anything that Vanessa has to say isn't really going to matter to him. The doctor's office conveniently also has a Hello It's Ready scale, and he gets on the scale and he is 486.8 pounds. And like I mentioned earlier, the doctor does reveal that he has diabetes based on his like A1C levels and the amount of insulin in his body. And there seems to be at least a little bit of a breakthrough with Jacob in hearing some of that news. He says that it does feel like a little bit of a wake-up call for him. And the doctor gives him a 20-pound weight loss goal for the next month. In general, I think the Jacob storyline is interesting because it's obviously a part of Vanessa'S life and would make sense that it would be a part of her storyline. I think, like, let's maybe spend some time focusing on the other girlies, too. Like, we spent a good half of this episode just talking about Jacob. And then the episode ends with the girlies going to a kickboxing workout situation type of deal. And I will say, the man leading the charge, the workout, was very attractive, and Vanessa agrees with me.
I don't need him to move out the way at all. I need him to stay right there. Damn, he's pretty.
But my major complaint about this episode is that there wasn't a lot of funny things that happened. Like, it literally took 35 minutes and 43 seconds into the episode before there was any kind of sexual innuendo, but thankfully Megan brought it out for us.
Do we know anything about boxing, kickboxing?
Couple fights in school, a little bit of wrestling in the bed.
Okay.
So yeah, the episode ends on all of the girlies punching the bag and using it to visualize them taking their anger out on something.
I've been beating myself up for so many years in my head.
My own mental health and my own needs are on the back burner.
Going to therapy made me realize that there were still unresolved emotions I had.
I need Jacob to understand how serious this is.
Megan chooses to imagine the bag as like herself, or like self-negativity, things like that, and how she has been so negative on herself. Tina's reflecting on how she's put her own needs on the back burner. Ashley doesn't really say specifically. I guess she mostly was talking about failure in general, about like how she feels like she's been a failure, and she says she's whooping failure's ass. And then Vanessa focuses on Jacob's weight and how Jackie has failed her in being supportive of her and Jacob. And that's that. That was the episode. I didn't get a funny joke from the girlies until the very end. Lots of stuff that wasn't directly about 3/4 of the girlies. I mean, it was kind of about Vanessa, but we spent so much time talking about her son. And just a lot of, like, them telling us stuff. It felt like a little bit of a filler episode, to be honest. Now, based on the previews for next week, they look a little bit more interesting than what happened this week. So I'm going to cross my fingers for that. I could really use something better than this. But also, I don't know, I'm feeling a little irritable. So maybe that lack of sleep is impacting my judgment today. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed this recap and review. If you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell button so you get notifications. I also do cover the 1,000 Pound Sisters, among many other things on my channel, so make sure to come back and check out my other videos as well. Leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I had kind of sort of fun today. I hope you did too, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!